Hey everyone, I'm Ultima456, you're the Ultimates, and welcome to episode 89 of Let's Platinum Danganronpa 2, Goodbye Despair. No, the clock inside his chest was a radio clock, so it would have been impossible to mess with.
So you're saying there's no way the killer could have tampered with the clock?
Maybe the clock Miss Sonia saw was the one that got tampered with.
The clock inside Grape House?
No, I checked all the clocks inside the funhouse.
Oh, that's what I asked you to do. So you really listened to me and checked all the clocks.
And because of that, I can confidently declare that all the clocks had the same time displayed.
If there's no possibility that the time was tampered with, then we must doubt that human's testimony.
Please believe me, we are not lying.
Then maybe it's a misunderstanding?
I never misunderstand. I'll crush you into dog food.
I never misunderstand. This time-related contradiction. I don't think I should doubt the testimonies. I should doubt the clock. There's no mistake that something was done, but what was it? Perhaps we've overlooked something. Maybe we're misunderstanding something. Think. If I focus and think, I should be able to find the answer to that mystery. Alright, it's time to logic dive. I like this one because I found it relatively easy to figure out what had happened. I don't know if the game makes it 100% easy in this logic dive to figure out what happened, but we'll see how they go about it, how they explain it. Okay, here we go. Hopefully I don't get smashed by these things. Now we Tony Hawk now. Well, no, Shaun White. What did Hajime and the others misunderstand? Well, we're talking about the time, so the other two are not the time. Time in the building. Okay, so why do they misunderstand the time in the building? Let's see. Alright, here we go. Hop! That's a tricky one. Hop! This is so cool, actually. As simplistic as this is, it is really cool. Alright, question 2. Which clock was tampered with? The building's clocks. We know that Nekomaru's couldn't have been tampered with, and that also removes the possibility that both were tampered with as well. So the building's clocks were tampered with, but Fuyuhiko said that he checked all of them and they all displayed the same time. So what does that mean? Well, there's only one explanation for that. Let's see what the question is. I actually forgot. Which house had the wrong time? Both houses. And that means that the killer must have tampered with all of the clocks. That's the only way it works.
It's all coming together.
I see now. I see now. Put the wrong emphasis on the wrong
You
syllable.
said you checked all the clocks inside the building. Isn't that right, Fuyuhiko?
Yeah, none of the clocks had the wrong time.
Wrong.
But what if all those clocks have been messed with?
What? All the clocks?
So even if you checked all the clocks inside the building, there's no way you'd have noticed it. I see. So the killer messed with the time inside the whole building by changing all the clocks.
So that's what it was. There's no way I would have noticed that.
This is truly fantastic!
Now's not the time to be pleased. More importantly, how much was the time off?
She's right. That's the main problem. I need to clarify by how much the time was off after the killer messed with the clocks. That's definitely the next mystery. I'm going to reach the truth in one go. Alright. This is going to take a little bit of time, but let's figure it out. Ironically, it's going to take a little bit of time to figure it out.
If the time in the building was all messed up, then we can only rely on Nekomaru's radio clock.
The time of death was clearly 7:30 a.m.
Okay, that's true.
The problem is, what time would 7:30 be? In our time.
Are
Pun?
there any clues that can be used to narrow that down? If only I heard the sound when he fell. It would have been a great clue.
Or his scream.
He's not the type to let out a scream.
If only Nekomaru's alarm was loud enough, we would have heard it too.
There's no point in saying that. If does not exist in this world.
What's with that pose? By how much did the killer adjust the time inside the building? How would I even figure that out? Alright, well we have a slight way to figure that out. Let's start by looking at Akane's account. Apparently, Akane heard a rumbling noise at around 5:30 AM. So if she heard the rumbling noise at 5:30 AM and and Nekomaru's alarm was set at 7:30 AM, that means that
The time in the building was all
everyone
messed
thought
up.
it was 2 hours
Then we can only rely on Nekomaru's radio clock.
later than what it
The time
actually
of
was.
death.
No,
It's
earlier?
clearly 7:30 a.m.
I'll figure it out.
The problem is, what time in our time?
Are there any clues that can be used to narrow that? If only I heard the sound when he fell.
Akane did.
I agree with that.
Let's see.
That's right. We should have heard the sound he made when he fell. Wasn't it that rumbling noise?
Rumbling?
I thought it was just an earthquake, so I went back to sleep. Was that the sound from when Nekomaru fell?
Well, a huge body fell from the 4th floor to the 1st, and the pillar fell with it. It's obvious we'd hear the impact sound.
We heard that noise too.
It was when we were gathered at the Strawberry House Lounge. What is it, Sonia?
Oh, well. That sound everyone heard? I did not hear it at all.
Huh?
You probably didn't hear it because you were sleeping.
I could not sleep at all. I was awake the whole night with hunger pangs.
There's nothing to worry about. What's important is that rumbling noise anyway.
If we use that rumbling sound as a reference, we might be able to figure out how much our time was off.
I heard that sound probably around 5:30 in the morning.
Huh? You can tell?
I instantly woke up and left my room. And that's when I saw the clock in the lounge.
Excellent work, Akane!
If that rumbling sound we heard was at 5:30 AM, it's like the answer to how much our time was off is literally right in front of me. 2 hours.
See! Nekomaru's alarm went off at 7:30, and if we heard the sound of his impact at 5:30, that means our time was off by 2 hours.
2 hours? That much?
We were starving pretty badly. There's no way we would have noticed.
Plus, the funhouse has no windows. And there weren't any Monokuma announcements either.
However, for what reason did the killer alter our perception of time?
The reason is obvious, so they could lure out just Nekomaru.
Lure out only Nekomaru?
If you messed with the clocks and used a specific thing, you definitely get Nekomaru to the tower alone, right? From there, the killer's plan was a splendid success. That's all it means.
Besides messing with the time, the killer also used a specific thing. If they were trying to lure out only Nekomaru, then that specific thing is Monokuma Tai Chi.
I see! That's it. The killer made use of the Monokuma Tai Chi activity in the morning.
How did they use it?
We were required to go to Grape Tower every morning at 7 a.m. for that activity, right? But if they mess with all the clocks inside the building, what would that do to us? We wouldn't be able to attend on time, but that wouldn't affect Nekomaru. His radio clock had the exact time. That's right. In doing so, the killer was able to lure him to the tower by himself at the precise time.
Then, when I witnessed Nekomaru early in the morning...
If I recall, you witnessed Nekomaru around 5 a.m. And if that time was also 2 hours off, it should have been 7 a.m. Yeah, that's pretty much it. At that time, he was heading over to Monokuma Tai Chi, right on schedule. I see. Now that I think about it, I realize what Monokuma meant when he said those words.
Too early! He didn't even ask you yet!
Jeez, how outrageous. I honestly didn't expect everyone to ditch Monokuma Tai Chi. But it turned out like this after all, so I guess it can't be helped.
When you said everyone, You were including us, right? We thought we came to the tower on time, but in truth, it was way past the meeting time.
Ah, jeez. That's, well, how should I put it? What was it? You know, tripping over a foot or something like that.
Are you talking about tripping over someone else's fault?
I don't know if I've ever heard that saying before, but I obviously I understand, but it's just like, never heard it before.
Wrong! Too bad!
Too bad.
Liar! I'm right!
That's not it! It's incorrect!
That's definitely the correct answer. You always get so stubborn like this.
Let's just ignore the peanut gallery. Now that we've found out how the killer lured Nekomaru, the number of suspects has drastically decreased.
Huh?
Hey, why would that decrease the number of suspects? Don't be a friggin' liar!
You'll know I'm not lying when you listen to what Fuyuhiko's going to say next.
Damn.
Huh? What the hell do you mean?
Huh? What the hell do you mean?
You witnessed Nekomaru going toward the tower. Did something else happen after that?
Are you talking about that alarm?
Alarm?
A little while after I witnessed Nekomaru, the clock in the Strawberry House lounge started going off. Plus, it was just before that rumbling sound occurred. That's it. So that's what it is. If Nekomaru died when the rumble happened, then whoever doesn't have an alibi at the time is the prime suspect.
Really? Was there anyone who didn't have an alibi at that time?
I remember now. The sound was so loud I couldn't help bolting from my room. But there was one guy who never left the lounge. We were both on the same floor. It's pretty weird that bastard never came out of his guest room.
Which means that person does not have an alibi for when Nekomaru fell?
Who is it? Who's the bastard?
It's whoever doesn't have an alibi for that time, right? This is a tricky one because you have to remember who got which room. There's one ultimate lucky student, and he got a deluxe room.
You're the only one! The one who wasn't there. It's you, right, Nagito?
That's right. Nagito wasn't there. It was just me, Gundam, and Fuyuhiko.
You didn't come out, even though the alarm was going off like crazy. You weren't in your room, were you?
If that's the case, where were you?
Please, say something!
If you don't hurry up and answer, I'm gonna suicide dive you!
If I may be frank,
No, you may be Nagito.
even if I wanted to go to the lounge, I couldn't. You couldn't? What do you mean?
It's merely the foolish talk of the weak.
Not only did I not hear the alarm, I never even heard that rumbling sound.
He couldn't?
You're definitely fucking lying.
However, that is also true for me. It is obvious that I did not hear the alarm in Strawberry House. But I did not hear the rumbling sound either. Is that not strange? I mean, everyone else heard it.
To be honest, it's not just them. The same goes for me too.
Huh?
I was in a pretty deep sleep, so I thought that's why I couldn't hear it, but it wasn't that. I probably couldn't hear it at all.
Couldn't hear it? What does that mean?
You still don't know. Think about what the three of us who didn't hear a sound have in common, and I'm sure you'll figure it out.
The only people who didn't hear the rumbling noise were Nagito, Sonia, and Chiaki. The secret is what these three have in common? Could this also be the secret that points to the killer? Alright, so I said it a little early, but this is so tricky because it's the hint that they give you is so like they pretty much give you nothing. They're like, hey, figure it out. But Monokuma does say so. But he does say, he does point this out during the chapter. They all had, oh crap, they all had deluxe rooms. And the deluxe rooms didn't have any issues with, you know, keeping out noise and all that. That one. I think I missed one there. Gotcha. Ooh boy, that was close. Trying to get as many points as I could, even though it doesn't really matter. Yeah, the deluxe rooms were completely soundproof.
Nagito, Sonia, and Chiaki, the three of you were staying in deluxe rooms, right? If I recall, the deluxe rooms are...
The guest rooms are divided up by quality grade. The deluxe room is soundproof and has excellent air insulation. The standard room may have so-so insulation, but it's still pretty decent. And the crummy room has severe airflow and draft problems.
The reason we could not hear the rumbling noise...
That's right. It was because the deluxe rooms have superior sound insulation. You actually noticed that. Nice catch, Hajime. Are you using your ultimate reserve corps student talent? Now then, you guys must understand by now, right? The true identity of Nekomaru's killer.
Oh, hold on a sec. Why does that lead to who the killer is?
Why? Well, that fact just now is a very important clue, and a decisive factor in identifying the killer.
Decisive factor?
Yep. Somehow, I feel like I understand what Nagito means. The killer among us. The killer who murdered Nekomaru. Yep, it does. Everything that was just said is true. It does prove who the killer was. Let's think about this. There were 4 deluxe rooms. Nagito, Chiaki, and Sonia occupied 3 of them. The only other person who was in a deluxe room who shouldn't have been able to hear the alarm, heard the alarm. So how does that work? Why don't you explain yourself? Gundam Tanaka!
You're the only one! Gundam, there's something I want to ask you. When the alarm rang at the Strawberry House Lounge, you rushed over there too, right?
What's wrong with that? If the bell of catastrophe rings throughout the night, it is the universe's providence to stop it.
Why were you able to hear it?
Hear what?
I mean, you were also staying in a deluxe room, right? Nagito was staying in a deluxe room in the same house on the same floor, and he couldn't even hear it. So why were you able to hear that alarm?
Now that you mention it...
Gundam?
There is only one possibility. You weren't in your room at the time. That's why, even though you were staying in a deluxe room, you still went to the lounge. Am I right?
Gundam, you have some sort of explanation, right?
Gundam probably couldn't return to his room because of Fuyuhiko.
Me?
After you saw Nekomaru heading to the tower, you stayed at the lounge for a while. Am I correct? Until the moment that alarm started ringing, right? If you were in the lounge for that long, the killer who had left earlier obviously wouldn't be able to go back.
Even though Mekamaru's murder was a death trap that utilized the alarm in his chest, the killer still needed to prepare the murder in advance.
Like putting Nekomaru in sleep mode and tying him up with the wire.
In order to do that, the killer needed to be waiting for Nekomaru at the tower. Which means when Fuyuhiko witnessed Nekomaru, the killer was already at the tower.
And once they tried to go back, they couldn't because Fuyuhiko was at the lounge.
In their original plan, The killer should have returned to their room before the alarm in the lounge went off. And they were supposed to stay in their room. They weren't planning to come out and go to the lounge.
Which means they wouldn't have heard the alarm or the rumbling sound, thus proving they were in the room.
Just like us.
The best case scenario would have been if those two in the lounge had gone to check the deluxe rooms. After all, if they personally saw the killer sleeping in their room, it gives the killer a stronger alibi. Unfortunately, they failed to secure that alibi.
Alright, let's stop there. We are getting a lot closer to the end of this. I think we've got one more episode to actually reach it, and then there's a few extra things to do. But yeah, okay, Gundam Tanaka. So everything's fitting together nicely, but is this exactly how it's going to end? Let's find out next time on Let's Platinum Danganronpa 2 Goodbye Despair. My name's Ultima456, you're the Ultimates, and I'll see you next time.